Hello guys, welcome to the video. So today we are going to discuss our question, target some subsets. So let's first understand the question. We are given an array filled with some elements and we are given a target. We are required to print all the subsets of an array whose sum is equal to a target. Okay. Now let's further understand it by checking the input and output. Okay. So I will make an array. Okay. Okay. We are given an array and target. Okay, I will write elements here. So let's say our element is 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. I'll write indexes here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. What else we are given is our target. Our target for this array, let it be 60. So we are required to print all the subsets of this array whose sum is equal to a target. Fine. I will write it here. A task. A task is to print all the subsets of this array whose sum is equal to our target. Okay, so that's our task. Now you must be wondering what a subset is. Fine, what a subset is. So as you probably already know what a subsequence is, we learned about subsequence, okay, for a string, that how we can calculate subsequence of a string. All right, so I can say for a string there is subsequence, right? So in subsequence we had two choices. What were the two choices? I want you to recall it first. Okay, so for the array we got subsets. Okay, so I hope you already know how to calculate subsequence for a string. Okay, so now that we know what subset means, let's see some target some subsets for this input. Okay, I'll bring our output from here. So here it is. I will increase the size. Perfect. So we got three subsets whose sum is equal to a target. One is 10, 20, 30. It gets to 60. 10, 50 is also gets to 60 and 20, 40 sum is also 60. So these are three subsets that we got. Nice, perfect. So this is our question. If you understood the question, I recommend you to try it yourself. As a hint, I can say, try to recall subsequence for a string. In subsequence, we had two choices. What were the two choices? Whether to include the element or not to include the element. Okay, include, exclude. So that's it as the hint. I suggest you to try it yourself before moving to the solution. All right. Now let's make one more array and let's try to calculate its subsequence and understand it. Okay. This time let our array be 2, 1 and 3. I'll write indexes here 0, 1, 2 and let our target be 3. 3. Okay. Now I want you to see the function signature first. We are given print target some subsets. That's our function name. Array, index of an array, answer so far. Why answer so far? Answer so far is storing the subsets. Okay, so as you can see in this order 10, 20, 30. Also you have to add a comma and a full stop at the end. Comma between elements and a full stop at the end. SOS is sum of subset. It's storing the sum, and target is the target that we are given to us. And we have initially passed 0, empty string 0 and target. Fine. Now let's talk about sum, SOS and answer so far. Okay. So initially our sum sum of subset. All right. And answer so far. Initially they are 0. Sum of subset is 0 and answer so far is empty. Okay. Now what I want to show you, that's important. So I'm telling you about the two choices, include or not to include. So here also we will have two choices. What are those two choices? Think about it. So the two choices are, if I want to include the array element in my sum or not, so that we can hit, so that it will be equal to a target. So our two choices are to include or not to include, whether to include or not to include. And every time we face a choice, we'll face off an element of an array. So here I will write, for better understanding, array idx and idx. Okay. So first, the choice you are facing for is for element 2, that is in 0 index. Okay. So you got two choices, whether to include or not to include. So here, if you include 2, your sum will get to 2, and your string, in the string you will also add 2. Right. And if you not include, then it will remain 0 and string will remain empty. Now again you will have two choices. What are those two choices? The two choices are whether to include or not to include. Simple as that. To include or not to include. Okay. And this time we are facing for two choices we are facing is for which element? It's for 1. That is in your first index. Okay. So the two choices, whether to include and not to include, whether to include or not to include. Right. And this time, if I include 1, my sum will become 3 and my string will become 2. Let's see the output format. 2, comma, okay. 2, comma 1. Okay. And if I don't include, then my sum will remain the same and my string will stay 2. Okay. And here it was 0. My sum was 0. If I include 1, my sum will become 1 and the string I will add 1. Okay. And if I don't include, it will remain the same. Okay. Now let's create some space. Okay. And I will drag it. Okay. And I will just down. Okay. Now again, you will have two choices, whether to include or not to include. Whether to include, whether to include or not to include. Whether to include or not to include. Whether to include or not to include. And this time, the choices, it's for which element? Okay, it's for 3. That is in our second index. So I can write 3 here with the blue pen, 3 and second index. Right? Yeah, seems perfect. Okay. So if I include 3, my sum here will be get 6, and in my string I will add 2, comma 3, comma 1. Okay. If I don't include 3, it will remain the same. 3, 2, comma 1. Now here my sum is true. If I include 3, my sum will get 5, and my string, I will add 3. Okay. Here again, if I don't include 3, my sum will remain the same, and my string will also remain the same. Okay. Here, if I include 3, my sum will get 4, and in my string I will also add 4. Okay. And here, if I don't include 3, it will remain the same. So 1, and my string also 1. Now here, my sum is 0, and if I include 3, my sum will get 3, right? My sum will get 3, and in my string I will add what? I will add 3. String is empty initially, right? And if I don't include, it will remain 0 and it will remain empty. So by this, you traverse all the array elements, and finally you got the subset, and the subset whose sum is equal to a target are this 2, 1, whose sum is equal to 3, and just 3. So these are the two target sum subset that we got for this array and this target. Now let's try to code it and understand it better. Okay. So let's first talk about the choices. One choice, it is to include. So if we include, then what will happen? Then our IDX, I will full screen it for better visibility. Perfect. So if we include, I'll increase my IDX, and in the answer so far, I will add my value. Also, my value will be array of IDX, but I have to convert it into string first because we are adding a numerical value, right? I convert it into string, and I have to add a comma as per our output, because in our output they are expecting a comma, okay, after element. And my sum, I can simply add the value, my array value, and my target will remain same. Now let's talk about exclude call. If we exclude the element in target subset, and this time I will exclude. So if I exclude, I will not do anything. I don't have to add in my sum or answer so far. Just I will increase the index because I'm not including. Now let's talk about when I will get my answer. So as per our recursion, if idx is equal to array.length, we can say if idx is equal to length of array. Okay. Then we are checking if sum is equal to a target. If our sum is equal to a target, then we can print it. Okay. If only when sum is equal to target, we'll print our answer so far. And we have to add a full stop at the end as per our output, and we can simply return. But if it is not equal to target, then what? Then we will simply return. We don't have to print it in our answer. Now what I want to show you here, for example, our target is 3, right? Our target is 3. But when, like, let's talk about something. For example, here is one more element, let it be 2. But our target is 3. Okay. So here we know my sum is equal to 6. Okay. If my sum is equal to 6, I know I can never reach my target. Okay. So there is no point of more recursive calls. Because for example, here also I will have two choices, whether to include or not to include. So if I include 2, it will get 8, right? It will get 8. And if I don't include, it will remain 6. But there is no point. So I can optimize it. I can simply say, if my sum is greater than target, then there is no point of going further. I will simply return. Now, you must be wondering one thing. Why can't we do it? Why can't we do it here? I want to show you. You must be wondering, we got our answer 3. Our sum of subsets is equal to a target. Why can't we just return here? You can return here, but you might miss some potential answers. What are the potential answers that you might miss? For example, here, this time, it is 0. You got a 0 here. So if you got a 0 here and you simply return here, so you will have two choices here. What are the two choices? Whether to include 0 or not to include. So if you include 0, sum will remain the same, and in your answer string, you will add 0. So that's the reason. That's the reason you can't simply return when sum is equal to target. So that's mainly for our code. Now let's try to run it and see if this works or not. Run my code. Wrong answer. Let's see why wrong answer. Here, some return indentation problem. Okay, fine. Should work now. Let's try running it. Accepted. Perfect. Now let's submit it. 10 out of 10. So that's it for this question. The main thing that you should focus is on the two choices, whether to include the element or not to exclude the element. And here we made some optimization. If sum is greater than our target, then we need not to go further. We can simply return it. And when sum is, we check for all the array elements, and then we check if sum is equal to a target. If yes, then we simply print it. So that's it for this question. If you liked this video, do not forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching.